we did a presentation a while ago when Itil4 first came out. I'm not sure if you've actually had access to that or looked at that. And we talk about what's involved in Itil4. So that may be afterwards you can let people know where that link is, Ian and Lynn, for anyone that's just done Itil v3 and not sure where we're going with Itil4, because what we're covering today is quite in depth in relation to the intermediate levels. And if you haven't done Itil4 Foundation, it will leave a little bit of a gap there of information where you're jumping from V3 to V4 is a slight difference with things like the SVS and the SVC and the 4 dimensions, etc. Got a Graham Jenkins here who said Itil V2, V3 and then V4, but no time to investigate the steps. Yes, so I think we're all time poor. That's why we offer these services like we do. I've just got another person coming in, Gareth, just one sec. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're doing today. We're going to cover off on the intro of what's going on here and why we're here and who HDAA is, etc. And then why get certified and what is value, the overview of the current study options, the methods of approach, and then the course comparisons. When I write this sort of content, I write all the courseware as well. I think of it from the student's perspective as if you'd never come across it ever. So I try and imagine what it's like to be at that first port of call when I got a tap on the shoulder and someone said to me, "Hey, do you want to do ITIL?" And I was like, "I what?" And I didn't know what ITIL was. So I just need to mute someone's there. We've got some typing going on there. Just cutting in there. So yeah, I try and do it when I do actually write this to give you some understanding from that foundational baseline level. And just some tools that we've developed and we work in conjunction. We've used with getting feedback from HDAA in relation to the mock exams or the Champions Portal Assessment, which HDAA has access to as their members can get access to that. Okay, so HDAA, if you don't know, they were established in 1999 and 100% Australian owned and operated, operating throughout Australasia. They're offering training and coaching, consulting in various skill sets, ITIL, service desk support. What else we've got there? Knowledge management, KCS, ISO 27000, project management, Resilia. I mean, that's not a complete list, but no doubt as a member, you would be aware of what they offer. But if you may not have been knowledgeable that they offer cybersecurity stuff or project management or cyber resilience. So just thought I'd throw that in there just for your benefit. We do work, ACG, being Adelaide Consulting Group, my company works very closely with HDA to offer innovative tools and methods of learning consulting such as Champions. So as I said, we've got that partnership there to help to bring everything to market, because there's not one provider in the world that you can go to and that offers everything. If you think about that, if you want to go and get some food tonight, you don't just go to Woolies and that's it and you've got everything there. You need your Woolies and you need your Coles and you need different organisations to fulfil your happiness with food and beverages. So just like that, we work together with HDA to offer services and help them. Yeah.
Sorry, perhaps I forgot to press the record button. Could you give me permission to record?
Yeah, sure.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so why would we get certified? Can someone pop into chat why they think they should get certified? What's the point of getting certified? Can someone just type in the chat why would you get certified? Why are you getting certified? Why are you interested in getting certified? What is it that intrigues you? Is it because you want to get paid more? Is it because you work in a not-for-profit and you want to provide more value to the people that use your services? Is it because you want to get a promotion? Is it because it interests you a lot? Can I just have some input in the chat? Proof of competence, yes, from Russell. Increased credibility, yep, definitely. That's definitely a reason to do it. Interest from Michelle. Okay, I guess it's a bit of both. I initially started this because I hated my job, and someone said to me, "Do you want to do ITIL?" And I was like, "Yes." I didn't care what it was; I would have just done it. And then I realised how important and how good it was, and how much it helped me in my day-to-day business. Don't worry about it, Ian. I'm recording. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So certification from Eve's there, maturity levels, ensuring keeping up the industry standards. Have you ever felt, I'll go to the next slide, I'll explain. Have you ever felt like you're in the Matrix? So you can't really read the code, or you don't know where you're going, or don't know what you're doing, or you don't know how to get there. Your boss comes up and says, hey, can you do this? And you go, yeah, okay. And you don't actually know how to do it. And you just got to try and find a way to do it. And you do a half-assed job, and you don't exactly, smash it out the park and get pats on the back for it. But it was really stressful and really hard. And it, you put a lot of effort into it, but nobody recognizes it. And that's because what we do is we find that we use, instead of using best practice, we just practice, right? And that's all we do is we practice, practice, practice. Got more people coming in. So what we want to do is we want to use best practice, which is the world's best in class services, and we can follow. So our goal, let me go to the next slide. Okay, so sometimes you can feel like this, a bit stressed and under the pump, or you're in a cog in a massive wheel and you don't really know where you fit in. Those sorts of things are the other things you might feel as well when you're at the workplace. Sometimes you want to strangle people. We just feel like, just so frustrated as well. There's lots of different emotions going on there. And this is the one where the boss comes along and says, hey, can you do this? And you go, yep. And then you got this shock sort of horror on your face. So that is the reason why I try and help people get certified, understand best practice, because it's not just about, hey, let's get a certification. It's about understanding what you can do with that certification. So if you just want to do it because you want to, get some more post-nominals behind your name, like your MBAs, etc., but you don't actually have a reason for doing it, well, you're probably not going to get the maximum out of it. So you need to actually understand why it is that you're going down this pathway. So our goal is to make you even more awesome and help you achieve your goals. Have a bit of a dance there and go, okay, you need to think about what it is that you want to achieve as a value on investment, return on investment, and we talk about that in a moment. But let's have a look at the certification levels for Itil4. So we've got, if you haven't seen this, what you'll see is you've got two streams practically, right? So you've got the managing professional stream and the specialist, or strategic leader, I should say. Let me just plug in my little pen thing here. And you can see I'll be drawing on screen. So these two streams here, right? This one on the left and this one on the right. Now you've got a choice. If you come from Itil4, then fantastic. You've got 17 credits. You can sort of jump across from the V3. You can transition through the managing professional. So that's one. This one, number 2, and the third option, number 3. I've got the Itil V3 expert, but even though I've got that, I haven't chosen to do management professional transition, because as far as I'm concerned, you need to know these things back to front. You need to understand why things happen. You need to understand the intricate details. If someone comes to you as a specialist or an expert, you should know the answer. And if you don't, you should know where to look for it in the books. So yes, there is I would call it a cheats way to get a management professional transition. But if I really took you to task on one of the topics like DSV, HVIT, DPI, etc., in the granular details, if you've only done the management professional transition, it spans very broad knowledge. It's not in-depth knowledge like you get in the actual courses. So my personal preference, go through each individual course, and I've written all these courses as well as studied the certification as well. So when you come to us for training, you'll get myself as a trainer. There's a few others as well that we've got in here as trainers in HCA, probably half a dozen trainers that are expert level, which are at that level and can help you along in your career. So the two streams we're going to look at in a moment, but the question I do have to ask you though is, what is value? So if you want to achieve a certification, what is the value proposition? What is the perception there for you? And some people have said that already: certification, understanding leading to better results, formal recognition, interest, credibility, etc. So it's about VI and ROI, right? So some people want to get money and other people want to get value. So what happens if you can actually do your work faster and spend more time with your family, or go away on holidays and enjoy yourself, or spend more time with your parents or your children, or whatever, your dog, doesn't matter, your pet rock, whatever it is of value to you. So that's what we need to understand, the difference between value on investment and return on investment. And we do talk about this quite a lot in the course when I'm training it, to help you get a better understanding about this. So let's have a look at the first stream. So we're going to have the managing professional stream there, right? So that's going to cover off on these 4 areas, which is, I'd put them in a bracket of MP, the MP stream. So the Itil4 MP stream, or managing professional. So you have to complete 4 courses to complete the MP stream. Now, once you've done the MP and the strategic leader stream, you then become you then have the opportunity to become a ITIL master. The ITIL master is a very in-depth process. We'll go through that towards the end. But what we're going to focus on here is the 4 managing professional certifications. So this one here, by completing 1, 2, 3, 4, you would then achieve the managing professional certification. Now, if you've only done 1 of them or 2 of them, you still have a certification. It will be, CDS or DSV or HVIT, and I'm just using an acronym because I don't want to have to say the name completely. But obviously, CDS would be create, deliver, support. DSV is drive stakeholder value. HVIT, high velocity, and DPI. Okay, so it's interesting the way that they've set the system up, that you've got the managing professional stream. I'm just going to go back a couple of slides just to show you what I'm talking about here. So if I zoom in on this area here, notice this one here, you've got direct, plan and improve, straddling both sides of the fence. So in the strategic leader and managing professional, you've got DPI. So I think your best bang for your buck immediately is to go straight into DPI. It's a fantastic course, and we'll talk more about it in a moment, but immediately it gives you an opportunity to go, you know what? Because some people may be transitioning in their career. You might have started off in a very operational focused job, and it's firefighting and trying to do changes and that sort of stuff, and day-to-day BAU. And then as you progress in your career, most people would then go to a sort of management and strategic sort of approach. So you may be at a crossroad at the moment, and you go down this DPI path, and you go, okay, what can I do? Because it's directing, it's planning and improving. So that may be an option for you, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Let me go back to the slide there. So what we're going to focus on is the first one is CDS. Okay, you do not have to do them in this order. This is purely just the way I've displayed them in alignment with what's on the slides. You can start off at DPI, HVIT, DSV, whatever suits your budget and or timeframes, all right, and skills that you need. So first one, CDS. It covers the core service management activities of the creation. So create, deliver, and support. So you could imagine it will be fairly operational focused. We're looking at supporting IT-enabled products and services while also covering supporting practices, methods, and tools. It will enable IT practitioners to continue to deliver innovative yet reliable. And that's the important part, isn't it? How many services could you honestly call reliable today? I mean, it's not like a massive list. A lot of people, I think there was something that happened in a hospital yesterday in Perth, I think it was. Anyone want to type it into chat, please let me know. But it happened in Perth where some services went down. They had to cancel some surgeries, etc., and people couldn't go and have health conditions fixed, etc., because they had some breakages in their IT. And the minister was like, oh, well, these are IT services and this is what happens to them. It's like, well, it shouldn't if you use best practice. So it's not to say that if you use CDS or you get trained in CDS, you'll never make a mistake and you'll never have problems. But what we should be doing is looking at having more resilient services and being able to ensure that we are proactively stopping things from happening rather than reacting to it. So the topics of interest in this course would be team collaboration, cooperation, workforce planning. There's a framework which we should be looking at also, which is called SOPHIA. So I'm not sure if anyone's seen or heard of SFIR. It stands for Skills Framework for the Information Age. I think it'd be a good value because that's going to help you in workforce planning. I'll just see if I can bring it up here, just one sec. Now SFIR is just being moved to version 8 and it complements the Itil framework very well. So there might be something there for you to have a look at that in the documentation. Wow, that's zoomed in, isn't it? But check out SFIR online. It's from the BCS, or British Computer Society, and it does complement that first port of call, which is the team collaboration, cooperation. But we also need to think about things like the difference between collaboration and cooperation. I won't go into detail about it now, but it's quite a different, the difference between collaboration and cooperation, about how one is focused on looking after your own butt, and the other one is a joint venture where we both go down a journey together to co-create value. And we talk a lot about that in all of the Itil courses about co-creation value. So workforce planning, very important as a part of our ongoing, and no doubt you would see in a lot of services that you're in at the moment, there's a severe lack of skilled individuals. You might have a lot of people you work with, but a lot of them aren't very good and don't know what they're doing and don't know how they got the job, but they're there, and we need to plan for that as a part of our ongoing trajectory. Reporting and advanced analytics are quite important there, and that comes down to metrics. RPA, or robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning. There's quite an interesting, if you look it up on Google, there's quite an interesting thing which is called the Hype Cycle Automation. And if you look up the Gartner Hype Cycle in automation, there's heaps of different images available that you can see, and they talk about emerging technologies, etc. If you haven't seen Gartner Hype Cycle, check it out if it eventually loads. That's a very blurry picture. Here we go. That's 2019, but there is a 2021 one. They do talk quite heavily about the use of automation and that sort of thing these days. Oh, okay, didn't work. But check it out. That's quite interesting. And that feeds into, again, a lot of the stuff we're talking about. So with the Itil4 frameworks and the new versions of the CDSs, the DPIs, etc., it's not just about Itil anymore. We do reach out to a lot of different frameworks and methodologies and stuff that is in the workplace already, but it's just now being recognized as a part of best practice and incorporation into the actual Itil framework. So RPA, AI, machine learning, I think, if you're not on top of that right now, you need to be on top of it. That's going to be driving our future. And we should be focusing more on putting our expensive human resources into more innovative means rather than repetitive, mundane, sort of getting stuck in firefighting every day. So we know how to Itil practice contribute to value streams. They do value stream mapping, buy versus build considerations, and also things such as SIAM. So SIAM stands for Service Integration and Management. Again, go back to your search engine of choice and type in SIAM, and there's a community of 14,500 people. No, that's not it. That's the wrong one. Apologies. SIAM, IT Service Management. Okay, so SIAM, there you go. And, Michelle Major Goldsmith, she's from Kinetic. She forms a part of that. Simon Dorst also, and there's a few other people who created the actual SIAM framework. Again, it complements Itil quite well. And like I said at the start of this seminar, it's not about us saying, hey, we supply everything. It doesn't work like that. We supply a product and service that you can take advantage of, and then you combine that with other services from around the world and to get the right information that you need to perform the best activities you can to have the best products on the market, products and services. So SIAM is quite important. It's very important from the perspective if you've got multiple vendors that are external to you, you need to understand the integration between how you work with them. And we cover off on that as a part of the Itil4 Foundation, actually, in the, the 4 dimensions as a part of Itil4. So, and that's quite an interesting and relevant piece of information. So if you haven't looked at the 4 dimensions, maybe you should check it out. Quite an interesting part there. Right, so what else is there? That's CDS. And then we've got DSV. So that's the second one in the list. So we've got CDS, then we've got DSV. And that's drive stakeholder value. So this module covers all types of engagement, interaction between the service provider and the customers, users, suppliers, partners. So when we talk about driving stakeholder value, it's co-creation of value. It's not just about us filling our pockets with money. It's about us providing a quality service, getting paid for that service, and the personal stakeholder using that service who may be supporting it as an external vendor also gets value. It's about everyone collectively working together and building stakeholder satisfaction, which is integral to business success these days in a competitive landscape. And there's so many new services coming out every day that could just topple you. If you don't offer good value, people just go, stuff this, I'm going elsewhere. So driving stakeholder value, very important. We need to understand what it is that the customer wants, understanding, designing and improving the journeys, knowing the target markets and stakeholders, describing the customer needs, internal and external factors. So do a thing like a SWOT analysis in there and a few other things as well. Obviously, it'd be, it's a 3-day course. We cover quite a lot of information. The relationship types. So, are they internal, external? Are they what sort of relationships do we have with that customer? Then we'd probably integrate SIAM as well there. Communication and collaboration activities and techniques. So, how do we communicate? Who do we communicate? How often do we communicate? Designing value-driven data, user-centered digital service experiences. I've worked with a lot of companies over the years, big and small, and what I usually find is that you'd have the bigger they are, the more they just think that they tell the customer how things should be, as opposed to going back to the customer and asking them what it is that they want. And what eventually happens, you have some young startup come along and just wipe the floor with that customer or that business, because they listen to the customer, understand what value is, they understand what they want. There's a lot of examples of that throughout the world. And in today's world, I mean, almost every business runs on IT. There's not one that doesn't have an IT background somewhere. So value co-creation, aligning expectations and agreeing details of service, and that comes back to cost modeling as well. Onboarding and offboarding customers and how to make that happen. So just as much as it's a pleasant experience coming on, make sure it's a pleasant experience going off, because they may not need your services. They may have outgrown due to maturity, or they may, due to the pandemic, have to close down, etc. We need to understand how to deal with that, how to make sure that even if they are closing their business today, they'd still come back to us tomorrow and continue using that service when they can. And how to realize and validate service value, which comes down to a lot of metrics, understanding KPIs, and those sorts of things. So that brings us on to high velocity, or HVIT. So this module includes the use of working practices such as Agile and Lean. No doubt you've heard those buzzwords around, your Agile Scrum and Lean and DevOps and those sorts of things. So technical practices and technologies such as cloud, automation, automatic testing, focusing on rapid delivery of products and services to obtain maximum value. I mean, every service these days seems like it's 10 times faster than it was in the 80s. So I remember how simple life was back then, but now everything's so complicated, and it's getting more and more complicated to the point where you're probably not being able to keep up with some of the stuff going on. There's a really good website if you want to feel overwhelmed. There's a website called, what's it called? I always forget the name when I go to write it. Just one sec. It's in this list here. It's a pretty, that's the one. I remember straight away now. So Product Hunt. So Product Hunt is the new best sort of tech products and things that's coming out, and they get upvoted by a community of people. So keep an eye on this. It's a really good website to understand the latest and greatest stuff. And there's some fantastic things which can help you to do some of the content that's included as a part of the DSV, Drive Stakeholder Value, the CDS, as well as High Velocity IT. So the focus we're looking at here as a part of the HVIT is going to be things such as IT managers and practitioners are involved in digital services and digital transformation projects, working within or towards high velocity environments. I mean, I'm working with a company at the moment. We've just set up a world first off-grid solar powered server, which we can plonk anywhere around the world, which is state-of-the-art technology. And it cost a fair bit to set up, but the whole point is that as we progress through things like COP26 and decreasing the carbon emissions, etc., we need to work smarter. We need to have more efficient, more automated, more future thinking services, not just going along and doing the same thing over and over again. So you need to think, you ask yourself this question, right? Do you think your business that you're currently working for, whether it's a big business or whether it's your own business, are you a market leader or are you a market follower? And you probably, as much as it's not very comfortable to say, you probably might find that you're a market follower. And it's not much that you can do by yourself, but collectively, if you all think the same way, which is why this framework exists, we can all understand how we can be a market leader and use these methodologies to allow us to take control and make a better service, which improves lifestyles and the livelihood of the planet, etc. So understanding when high velocity IT is desirable and feasible, because it's not always feasible, right? We need to do some analysis there. Fast development, resilient operations. Now, it doesn't usually go hand in hand. If you say fast development, you probably get a lot of things breaking. So we need to understand how we can be fast and resilient and strategically innovative. So how does HVIT relate to SVS, the 4 dimensions, and the SVC? So for those who don't know what SVS, SVC are, etc., maybe just do a bit of a search on Google. I'm sure you'll find it. And there's a presentation we talked about in previous Itil4 Foundation that you can have a look at as well. SVS stands for Service Value System. 4 dimensions is the 4 key areas that we need to consider as a part of making decisions in our day-to-day operations, which would cover off on the organisation, people, IT services, partners and suppliers, and value streams and processes. And the SVC is the activities we perform on a daily basis, which breaks it down into digestible chunks, such as plan, improve, engage, design and transition, obtain and build, deliver and support. So we break it down into those areas which help us to, I guess I call them gates. And if you look at the overall picture of what the SVS and SVC is made up of in the 4 dimensions, there's about, from memory, about 43 different gates you could actually go through before a service would go live. You don't have to, but it gives you the ability, by understanding how high velocity can be gated or understood as we progress through various stages, and identify if there's any gaps or issues before we go live. But it also puts checks and balances there for us to understand how we can bring things to market quicker, what we can miss this time and maybe fix next time. And that forms a part of the old continual improvement process, where we can start to use that as a part of our overall understanding about how we can be more efficient and bring things faster to market. We've got other things like ethics, lean, safety, culture, Toyota Kata, and design and complexity thinking, how to trust and be trusted and continually raise the bar. Really difficult one, how to be trusted and how to trust people. If you've been burnt before, it may be difficult for you. And then you've got ambiguity and uncertainty and how to commit to continual learning. I think no matter what you do, you've always got someone chasing you. You have to keep raising the bar. You have to keep continually learning. So if you're not, you're probably, again, going to be just a market follower. Some people are okay with being a market follower, though. So you're just going to need to know where you fit in the world, what you're trying to achieve, and take on the course that's going to best suit your current and future self. Okay, so this is where I said it earlier about the strategic leader stream, but also how DPI straddles both the MP and the SL streams. So if it was me, this is where I started, when I first took on the Itil4 intermediates, the first thing I did was DPI. Because I just wanted to get a picture and go, right, do I want to go down the management path, or do I want to go down the strategic leader, sort of more strategy, sort of direction path? And I find I feel much more comfortable these days in the strategy path, whereas previously I'd just go into the operational world and just start smashing things out and make mistakes and try and fix them. I'm more, maybe because I'm getting older now, I enjoy this strategic pathway. Had I not come across this course though, it wouldn't have given me that insight of both pathways. So depending where you are, your age, your background, skills, and other certification you've got, this may be the best option for anyone in this room to start your journey in the intermediate. So SL, or the SL stream, recognises the value of ITIL, not just for IT operations, but digitally enabled services. So becoming a strategic leader demonstrates that you have a clear understanding of how IT influences and directs the business strategy. There's a thing I usually drew in the Itil foundation courses. That's meant to be a circle, by the way. So let me just start again. I'll try and draw a circle again. Right. So this is what I used to draw in the foundation courses, right? So everyone knows this sign, yin yang. And on one side you got the IT, and the other side you got the business. Now name a business today that doesn't need IT to operate. And you might say, oh, there's a person shining their shoes in the street. Well, where do they get their brush from? Where do they get their shoe polish from? Where do they get the money from that they take from people and then they pay for things and etc.? So the money's made with digital components. The shoe polish is made in some factory somewhere with computers, and then they buy it from Coles, which has to get shipped somewhere through a truck and put in a box and stacked on a shelf, and that person has to get paid a wage, and the list goes on, right? So there's not one business today that doesn't have IT backing it somehow. I can't think of any anyway. Even the clothes that you're wearing. I mean, obviously you don't want to be walking around starkers in your birthday suit, but some people might, but you probably wouldn't go to work like that. So you're going to be relying on IT in the first place to just get clothing on in the morning, right? So it's really important that you understand that not just about the IT operations, but the enabled services and the influences on those direction of the business, because you can make the wrong decision now, and it's almost like a butterfly effect. Or if you've ever done orienteering, if you're 1 degree off your actual 1 degree off your actual endpoint, you could be 500 meters to the right or left or wherever. Like the further you get along in the journey, the more you get away from the actual goal that you're actually trying to hit in the first place. So it's really important that IT and business are heavily aligned. So DPI, fantastic for that. But let's have a look at it. So it provides individuals with the practical skills necessary to create a learning and improving IT organization with a strong and effective strategic direction. Now, strategy is going to be key. Think about if you're going into anything, you're going to play a game of Monopoly with your kids. You've got to have a strategy. If you're going to go on a holiday, because now the pandemics that have allowed for international travel, and you need a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, what do? You just turn up at the airport and go, ticket please. That might be classified as a strategy actually, but you've got to have some sort of strategy, right? It covers the influence and impact of agile and lean ways of working. It also aimed at managers at all levels in shaping direction and strategy or developing a continual improving team. So think about the terms there: directing, planning, and improving. What do you think that you're going to be doing in that, right? So understanding the concepts of value and the value. Do you remember right at the start? You need to decide why you're going to do this course. So you're going to be a VOI or ROI, or you could have both. There could be two reasons. You could have a return on investment and a value on investment you're trying to achieve there. The outcomes that you're trying to produce as opposed to the outputs. Outputs will be, you might produce multiple outputs to produce an outcome. The costs and risks involved with that. There's never going to be zero risk. So, sometimes you might have less risk, but then there's going to be more cost. And it's a balancing act. And I usually like to draw it like this. So if I put a V here, there's the value triangle, and then the cost on one side and risk on the other. So determining on how much value you want, you're going to have a different cost and different risk. I mean, it's entirely up to you, but you need to make that decision as a director, directing the organization and the business. So cascading goals and requirements, quite important. And that comes down to having good key KPIs and KRIs, etc. Defining effective policies, controls and guidelines, understanding risk and governance of services, build, justify and advocate for a business case. So building business cases, that sort of stuff, and telling them why it's important we go in this direction, and setting up certain models like governance models and delivery models, etc. Embedding continual improvement, making sure that we're constantly looking at ways we can improve as we progress, which raises the bar. That forms a part of the Deming cycle, if you're not familiar. Where's my pen gone? So the Deming cycle, you've got your PDCAs, PDCA, and you're going up the hill of progression there, and that's your CHOC there. So that would be your continual improvement. CHOC, that will stop you from rolling back down the hill. So if you're not familiar with the Deming cycle, please look up Deming cycle, 1M in the Deming, not 2. What else is there? There's also embedding continuous improvement, organizational change, very important, also known as OCM, understanding organizational change management. It's important you understand how change affects people, how directions affect people, and not just in their day-to-day operations, but they're understanding where they're going in their career as well. So people need to be educated as to why we're going in a certain direction, why is there a state of urgency? And there's a thing we use called the Kotter's 8 steps. So if you're not familiar with that, look up Kotter's 8 steps, Kotter, 8 steps. And there's some important reasons that forms a part of the organizational change management that we look at. Different types of stakeholders we need to look at, effective communication, having communication policies there to make sure people are aware of what's going on, why it's happening, how we're getting there, why we're doing it, those sorts of things. And then indicators and metrics, which will form a part of the overall understanding the governance and the cascading goals and requirements, etc. Okay, now this is where it gets a bit tricky. So everything else before now has been relatively simple. This course stretches it a little bit harder for you, makes your brain a bit sorer. So DITS, or Digital and IT Strategy, ideal for digital leaders and aspiring leaders who wish to shape IT and business strategy and drive organizational change. So you're very much focused on strategy, direction, etc., as opposed to DPI, which is partially strategy and direction, but also continual improvement. So it fits into that day-to-day operational model where you can look at the data, what you've done in the past, how can we improve it, we're going in this direction, and keeping an eye on both channels. Whereas this is purely around the strategy of the business. So a structured, flexible approach for the service management challenges, practical skills for completing with disruption, reshaping, adapting processes, repurposing entire business models. And that will happen because things change rapidly in IT today. The way that technology is going, and that's why I gave you that website, by the way, the product hunt. You need to actually feel it and understand it and start using some of those services and go, wow, I didn't know this stuff existed. Because there's so much happening out there. We get our heads down and bum up doing our work. Things pass us by and suddenly there's this new service which is the latest and greatest. And it's like, I had an idea about that. Why didn't I make that happen? And that's because you need to think like a leader, like a strategic leader, and make that happen. So topics of interest would be relate the guiding principles to DITS, business strategy, business models, PESTLE, political, environmental, etc., different types of analysis. Internal, you've got the 4 dimensions, which I mentioned before. You've also got VUCA factors, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So we compare 3 levels of digital disruption. We look at customer journeys, omni-channel delivery and support, understanding risks and opportunities, digital readiness assessments. So, let's just say we come with the world's best, latest, greatest, fantastic technology. Are people ready for that? If not, how do we educate them? And, sometimes it's not best to be first to market. Sometimes it's better to let someone else educate the market and you follow up with a product which is an improved model of what they had, even though it was your idea first. Someone's always going to try and beat you to market. And I don't think that's a bad thing. So that's a part of your strategy, right? You could spend $1 million on educating the market. And then someone comes along and says, you know what? It's like, what's that accounting program? They had, there was Xero and there was another one, Intuit, which had QuickBooks, right? So Xero didn't exist years ago, and Quicken was the master, and they owned the market because it was CD based, and you install it on your PC. And Xero came along and said, you know what? This is like Quicken, but better. And people went, oh, that sounds good, because they already had that market education. They knew what Quicken was, so that they came along and, look where Xero is today. It's going gangbusters. So, it's always, that needs to form a part of your strategy, and we need to think about that as well. And lastly, we need to know how to achieve operational excellence as well as understand financial aspects. So we need to look at cost modeling and understand where we're going to be in the future, budgets, all that sort of stuff. So it's very much focused on strategic direction and working with the business. Probably quite a lot of business management in there, but also not just, if you're going to do a business degree, you may as well go and do that, right? But this is about understanding how IT and the service management can support the business in their approach, because it's an overlap. You've sort of got a foot in both camps there. So if you've ever done an MBA, there'll be a lot of these terms here you would understand as part of this course. All right, so achieving your goals and using the CI Deming approach. So what I suggest is you use the methods that you've learned all throughout your career so far to get to where you want to go, right? So first port of call would be, what is the vision, all right? And I would draw a number. I would put this in a spreadsheet. This is number 1. It's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7. So you just go through the steps. So what is my vision? What do I want to achieve? What's my vision, goal, objective? Where am I now? Well, it's 2021, getting towards the end of the year. I've got XYZ certifications, etc. Where do I want to be? Okay, by the end of next year, I want to have XYZ certifications. We define those targets now, where we want to be in the future. How do we get there? Right, I need to sign up for the DPI course that HDA is running next month or whenever it is, and we go through that process. You take the action, you actually do the course. Did we get there? Okay, my goal was this, we're halfway there. How do we keep the momentum going? We need to go and complete the next course, etc., as a part of my career progression. Now, why have I got the Deming cycle in there? Deming cycle in there helps you to, if you can imagine this fitting in each cycle, each part of the cycle. So you do a plan, do, check, act in the what is the vision. You do a plan, do, check, act in where are we now. We do a plan, do, check, act in where do we want to be. And we repeat that over and over again. It's a system that's worked. It's allowed me to get every certification I ever wanted to get because I use this system. And I teach every student I train in Itil to try and use this methodology, because what I used to do before I learned this is I'd be one of those people. Now, you probably know one of these people. I was one of those people that would be like, I'm going to do this. I'll call them I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you know what? It was hard, and I didn't have anything to drive me. And I'd get, I'd like a cat with a laser beam, like I'd be like chasing everywhere and not have any sort of understanding of where I was going. So once I started using this, much more structured in my approach, able to achieve all my certifications, no problems at all. So I just thought I'd throw this in there to give you some methodology that you could use as a part of your journey to try and map it out and understand how you can get to your next level that you want to achieve. And if you hit that level, fantastic. Put another level up. Keep going, because if not, you what's that saying? You lose it or use it. No, use it or lose it. You don't want to be losing it. And if you don't have a plan, you probably will lose it, because you'll just go in circles and go, nah, I've had enough, I'm out. Very important, the Deming cycle. Fantastic, can be used for anything, not just IT. Right, so levels of complexity. Is it worth it? Bloom's level 2, 3, and 4. So Bloom's taxonomy, if you're not familiar with that, I'll give you a quick elevator pitch on Bloom's taxonomy. If I look up airplane cockpit. Okay. Now let me just open that image up in a new tab. Right, so probably not many pilots watching this at the moment, but I'm sure there is at least one. Now, Bloom's level 1 would be, what is that? What can you see in front of you? You go, it's a cockpit. Well done, you passed. Ding, 10 points. Now, Bloom's level 2, 3, and 4, it extends that knowledge and go, okay, what would happen if you pushed the steering, I don't know if they call it steering wheel because I'm not a pilot, but let's just say they call it a steering wheel in pilot land. What happens if you push the steering wheel? I'd probably go up or down, right? That's Bloom's level 2. once you get to Bloom's level 4, what would happen if you turned it sideways, pushed it forward, and pushed this button at the same time, twisting that knob? That's level 4. And what would the outcomes be? And what would happen to the people in the back? And, you'd have to understand everything about it. So that is Bloom's taxonomy at a very high level. It is difficult for some. It's not going to be a walk in the park, right? It will hurt your brain a little bit at times, but that's why we're here to support you. That's why we've written the course in such a way. But you've got mentors and others in HDAA, ITSMF. Like, there's loads of people around that can help you. There's forums online, and then, of course, myself and other experts that train you. So, if it's easy, it's probably not worth doing, right? Is it worth the effort? Without a doubt. Best money you'll spend on getting ahead in your career. Now, whether you buy it through HDAA or you buy it online or whatever, right? We're just here to offer a service. We want you to get ahead. We want to help you and support you. But I can't stress it enough. Doesn't matter where you spend your money. It's going to be the best money you spend once you understand it. Now, be careful. This is what I'm saying. When you go and just buy something online and you buy a course that, Jimbo's training, first of all, make sure they're accredited. Second is, do they support you in actually educating you to actually use the content? Not just go, yay, I got my certification, but that's as far as it goes. Because there's no point in just going, I've got my certification, if you're not going to actually use the methodologies. You need to use the methodologies, right? So career opportunities, too many to list. Just look at the opportunities on Seek. I'll just go to Seek right now. Type in seek.com.au. Not Seal. Wrong website. Seek. I will get there eventually. Hopefully, there you go, Seek. And if I type in Itil in Seek, then you've got 3,140 jobs. Just before the pandemic lockdown, so there was something like, or actually just after that happened, there was something like 700 jobs. There's 3,000 jobs that need Itil, right? And these jobs pay top dollar, especially Eastern Seaboard. I'm in Adelaide, but Eastern Seaboard, you're looking at good money there. I mean, that's government, 100,000, 124. But I know people as consultants, they're charging between 1,500 to 2,000 a day. Now, if money is what you want, you'll get it. But you have to have that skill set. You have to show that you're capable. You go in and you'll set up an entire organization and their structure, their governance models, their delivery models, etc. But you have to know your stuff. You can't just go and say, hey, look at my certification, because you're going to have to answer the hard questions. So there's massive opportunities there once you've got your certification. There is a severe shortage of certified individuals. And now a lot of people are using stuff like ServiceNow as well. Now, ServiceNow, a great tool. It's not the only tool out there, but there's Sherwell, there's IBM, Help Desk, I think it's called, Service Desk. There's stacks of them, right? Even they need people just to support their products on a daily basis. So it depends on which journey you want to go on as well. Okay, so let's look at the exam information. Let's have a breakdown here. So it's CDS and DSV, HVIT, DPI, all 40 questions. Fantastic, 90 minutes. Unless you're ESL, ESL get extra time, right? ESL means English Second Language. It's closed book. You cannot have an open book. 26 out of 40, so 65% to pass. And there's no case study or interview with them. Fantastic. Standard, bog standard exam, 40 questions. Right, DITS, on the other hand, you've got 2 exams for it. So one is a 30 question, I should say, 60-minute, closed book. Pass mark, 21 out of 30. And it's got an interview and case study assignment. And then you've got the other part of the exam is 4 times case studies, 60 minutes per assignment, open book, 30 out of 40 to pass. 5 assessment criteria. This is usually done during the course. So the case study / assignments are done during the course as a part of the actual course. The exam is done after the course once you complete. You have to pass both to get the certification. So DITS, very challenging, not an easy one, but you need to prove that you understand what you're talking about, right? So taking the exam in a language gives you an extra 25% extra time. And I think, I don't know if you get away with it if you put on an accent, hello, my name is Sven and I'm coming for the exam. I don't know. You might get away with it, but I don't think so. I don't know how they would say, look, you're not ESL. I don't know how they do that. is it discrimination if they say you're not? I don't know. 4 answer options for all questions, so you got multiple choice, etc. So it's just the standard A, B, C, D. And DITS, you must pass both. Okay, Champions Assessment. So we've got Champions tools as a part of the HDA offering where it helps you to understand how much you know. Usually what we're suggested to do a benchmarking of yourself and go, where am I really good, where am I not? And we work out your actual strengths and weaknesses. And then from there, we focus on those key areas as a part of your study during the course. So this is just a snapshot of what it looks like. You get a question, get an answer. If you get it wrong, it goes red and it shows you the right one in green. And then on top of that, you've got some other people that have played it around the world. There's thousands of people that play this now. So you get a world ranking as well, which I think is really important from my perspective to understand where I sit in the world against other people. And then on top of that, where do you start? Assess yourself using Champions or similar, or see if you can get hold of the mock exams. I think they might have them online, but that's PDF format and it is quite challenging to try and identify your gaps. Develop an improvement plan based on a continual improvement model and Deming cycle, as I showed you earlier. Find an accredited training organisation, or just sign up with HDAA, or just go to Axelos and check them out. You know, there's other options out there, but ideally we want to support you as our members to help us help you. And support the experts that support you. So buy local, think global. We work hard to offer you top quality services here. And yes, you can get cheaper from other countries around the world, but you're probably not going to get the support and the quality that we can supply you with. And that, I guess, that skill set, like having, between myself and the other trainers, we've got like 40 years experience of implementation of ITIL in a small organisation through the federal government. So we do consults in international standards and all sorts for large organisations. Okay, so you don't have to be a genius or a visionary or even a college graduate to be successful. You just need a framework and a dream. That was Michael Dell that said that. So we've got the framework, ITIL. Have you got a dream? Are you bringing that to the party? Because we can help you get there. So having that framework, I can't stress enough, is really important. Otherwise, you'll probably just go in circles. Or you can just continue with doing this, just vacuuming fire. I don't know why I threw them there, but I thought it was quite funny because he's not getting anywhere. It's not the right tool. You can do that at work every day. Use the wrong tools, right? And you'll just vacuum fire. So any questions? That's it for the presentation. I don't know if you want to open up the mics or not, Lynn or Ian. Do you want to take control again?
You can send it back to me, that's fine.
Sure. Make host. Okie dokie.
Any questions, anyone?
It is mouse land, isn't it? Yes. Chat.
I'll ask just a very quick question, more guidance than anything, if you don't mind, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Service transition. What would be the best clause after foundation that would address that function?
Transitioning of a service?
Of IT service, yeah, project into BAU.
Create, deliver, support.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, because you're creating it and you've got to think about the releasing of it and the change management, etc., and then operational support of it.
Lovely, thank you.
Cool. So both streams then achieve ITIL Master. Yes, you are correct, Graham. Both streams will achieve ITIL Master. So it's not that you achieve it, you get, so from there you can then do the ITIL Master course. So it's actually not a course. I'll just bring it up here and give you a link. So what it is you have to apply to become an ITIL Master. And what you do is you have to go, it's like you have to prove that you've implemented the various aspects of ITIL v4 in a consult or in your organisation. It's usually like over a period of time, maybe a 6 months or 1 year journey, and you can document the metrics you put in place, what your baseline. So you use a continual improvement process, understand where you were, how you've progressed, etc. And then you have an interview and you submit that like a 2,000 word essay. I don't know exactly how many words it is, but the essay to the accreditors, and they'll review that and then have an interview with you and talk through it. So panel assessment, yes.
Yeah, so it was then sort of similar to the Itil4
Yes.
master program. Yeah, okay, perfect.
I'm just trying to, here you go, this one here from PeopleCert. I'm not sure if they have it on their website, managing professional transition, etc. Oh, there it is, Itil Master, yeah. So I'll just pop this in the chat and you can have a look at that. It says I can't. Only co-host and host can send messages to everyone in the waiting room. Oh, it's in the waiting room. No, I was trying to put it in the waiting room. Sorry. Oh, there you go. Can you see that? Yeah, there's no one in the waiting room, so it's not going to get to anyone. But there, it is there now. So that is directly from the PeopleCert website. Now, for those who aren't up to speed, PeopleCert bought Itil from the UK government. They paid 750 million, I think it was, Australian dollars, around that mark, to buy the framework, and they now are the owner of the best practice framework. Nothing's going to change. You're still going to have the same framework and everything, but yeah, PeopleCert do now own it. So they're the best port of call to get the information from in relation to the gaining these certifications. And now, is there any other questions? Was that helpful at all? Did anyone find it of value? Get any VOI from that?
Well, Scott, the presentation took me way back to 1999, when I did my Itil Foundations and my Itil Masters, as it was called in those days. And it's certainly a massively different beast nowadays to what it was back then. But I think it's more sensible in the way they conduct the exams. Back then it was 10 essays in one day, 5 essays in the morning, 5 essays in the afternoon to get to your master's level. And I would challenge anyone to read my writing after that 10th essay, because my hand was...
The cramp in your hand used to get...
Right as cramp, and it was
it's horrible.
A great experience. But I did pass, and it doesn't seem that long ago to me, but certainly like 23 years ago, it's gone really quickly. The guidelines matured a lot, as I have over that time, and I think there's a lot more options nowadays than there was back then, and certainly a lot more practices to get your head around. But it's certainly grown into something that fits much better within the business than it did back then. It was certainly worthwhile doing. There wasn't a lot of idle masters back then, but in terms of growing HDAA and consulting around service best practices in particular, but IT best practices overall, certainly still mean good, Steve, in terms of being able to have the credentials needed to go in and tell people how to do things. So, and I don't think anything's changed in that respect. It's just matured and grown and extrapolated out a lot further than it used to be.
Yeah.
So thanks, Scott, for today's presentation. Sorry, I cut you off. You want to say something?
I was just going to say, I mean, the principles are still the same. The practices are practically the same. Incident, problem, change, release, all that sort of stuff. They've added a few more, but it's evolved with the use of technology. There was one other thing I didn't include in this presentation. There's 2 new certifications. They're not actually live yet, but they're coming up in the near future, which is there's a cloud, acquiring cloud services course, and also digital and sustainable IT. So being able to sustain technology in alignment with the World Health Organization. I think it's something along those lines, like making sure that services are accessible and environmentally sound and all that sort of stuff. So they're coming out probably early next year. You will get a glance at those. We could do another presentation just on those 2 if you want.
Yeah, it looks certainly worthwhile looking at. And just to sum up, thanks very much for a very informative session, as always. For those still here, don't forget that through our interactions with Scott, we can bring cybersecurity training to you guys as well. Scott's one of the few cybersecurity experts in the country, as well as being a jack of all trades or some other things, so it's worth remembering. So thanks for attending today. We'll be running another workshop in February, which will be one that Andy Saller from Thinking Dimensions, and we'll be looking at problem-solving techniques and methodologies behind that. That'll be on the 17th of February, and then by then I hope that most states will be opened up and free from COVID restrictions, and by mid next year we should be able to get back to running the normal face-to-face gatherings that we had